Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast in this edition of the Artemis Fowl Scratch Off.
Yes.
And this time we're covering the Eternity Code.
Yes.
So those of you who are joining us for the first time, Artemis Fowl Scratch Offs, Rascal tells you what the line in the book really says.
Yes.
And then I reveal to you what the character really was saying that couldn't be said in the book.
Right. So for book 3, they rescued Artemis's dad, and he sort of has he does have a whole change of heart and new perspective. He wants the Fowls to no longer be the long-life criminals they've been known. They said from this point on, they're going to go straight, they're going to be legitimate businesses and everything, and but Artemis isn't quite ready to relinquish his criminal mastermind title, so he decides he wants to pull off one last heist before doing that. And he takes some of the LEP technology and makes an entire cube computer thing out of it, and he tries to sell it to this guy named John Spiro.
Because unlike the Disney movie, in here he's really a criminal master.
Right. And he tries to sell it to John Spiro, who's from I believe Chicago, and he actually ends up outsmarting Artemis and takes the cube for himself. Now they can't let him keep this cube because it could really spell the end of the fairy civilization, because it can pick up on the LEP stuff. And as well, Butler gets really mortally injured in here, so he calls upon Holly for help, so they need to work together again to get the cube back and to keep the fairy secret once again, and of course to help Butler.
Yes, definitely. So
now we have a few scratch offs. There's not too many in here because Artemis doesn't meet Holly till a bit later in the book, because pretty heavy things happen in here concerning Butler. You don't know if he's gonna make it or not, so they kind of play it pretty straight, and then they end up leading into it as the book goes on.
Now, if you haven't read the Artemis Fowl books, you really should get them, purchase them everywhere, or you can borrow them from your local library. They're an excellent set of books written by Owen Colfer, who is a brilliant writer. And no matter whether you're 8, 80, or 800, you can read these books.
Right.
As he mentioned in the interview, these books are written for anyone of any age to read, regardless of them saying elementary at the library. Well, guess what?
Right. So, for here, it starts a little bit later in the book, and Artemis puts out a sort of message to get the attention of the LEP. He wasn't expecting Holly, he just wanted some officer to come in that could come heal Butler. And it turns out to be Holly. What a coincidence. And he's like, "Oh, Holly, it's you." And she responds, Holly responds, "I know it's me. I presume you made the call." And then Mom has this snarky recap saying,
"Oh, now we're playing hard to get."
Like, oh yeah, all this time now we're suddenly aloof. Like, nothing's gonna change, but okay. Okay, and in this one, they just kind of skips pretty far ahead, like to the second half of the book, when they finally agree to, get the permission to have Holly there and to pull off the heist to get the cube back. And before that, when they're talking to Root, and they have to convince him to let Holly go with them to get the cube back. And Root was kind of berating her, saying, why didn't you come back? And Artemis explains that it was his fault because he had tricked her by sending out the message. And then Root says, "Oh, really? And then, pray tell, why is she still there? Are you doing lunch?"
Pray tell.
and there's this poor Root. And this point when Holly tells him what happened, she's like, "Okay, so you mind wiped him and left to the authorities, right?" "No." And then Ruth's like, "Why do you do this to me?" And Holly just doesn't respond to any of this. Like, every time she goes up there and deals with Artemis, like, all the rules go out the window. Right. and Ruth gets upset, and then Mom gotta reply with that.
If you don't think she's...
Wait.
She didn't want to come back. She didn't want to go home to her empty place. She wasn't missing anybody in Haven. She's like...
They even bring that up. It's like, "Oh, were you homesick?" "No." And they say, "Yeah," and it was true. She hadn't thought about going home since she'd been with them.
Right.
Oh, okay. So then it gets to where we're kind of waiting for a signal to come in and get him out of the room. And she's talking to Foley. They kind of have a bit of a conversation. And they kind of explain that while Juliet's doing this stuff for him, and it's like, well, she shouldn't be doing this. She's still young, and it's like, well, she can't be really wanting to talk. She has broken all these rules for him and healed his whole family and everything, and now she's doing this. And it says, but there was something about the Irish boy that made you forget your reservations. I was like, huh? Like, wait a minute. What do you mean? It's like, okay, wait a minute. Is he having like a bad boy effect on her?
And again, if you don't think she's falling for him, you're local.
It's like, where did that come from? It's like, you're brown him and you can't help yourself. It's like, what? When did he get that effect on you all of a sudden? You can't say no to him now, huh?
He's been described in the book as being very pale, with vampire teeth. When he smiles, he has like the vampire
the fangs,
teeth,
yeah.
and the piercing blue eyes, and his hair is combed back and it's dark. Yes, she has that effect on him, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, he has that effect on
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. Okay. And then when they're in the building, and she opens the ceiling to enter the room, and it's sort of this almost little banter where he knew what she did by turning off the AC, and she knew what he would do by placing something to where they would make no noise when the piece fell. And it was literally in sync. Like, it was already, like, they already knew what each other was going to do. And Holly's, yeah, exactly. I think we're getting to know one another too well. And
Sure, Holly. Sure.
it's like, yeah, how are you in sync this quickly? They're just like, yeah, I know what you're gonna do. I know what she's gonna do. Let's just keep going. It's like there was no need for words of exchange.
She went from being called a human, and it's offensive, to, oh, we're so in sync. She's like, oh.
Okay, and then Foley said that they made a sort of digital replica of Artemis, and they took scenes from the Great Escape movie hilariously, and they kind of just type in little commands for him to do. They take from the movie and they apply his features on there and make it look like he's doing different things. And Foley says, our simulated Artemis can do whatever I ask. And then Mom said,
Notice she never answered. Oh, I said, don't let Holly get a hold of that then.
Oh yeah, that's right. When you said don't answer, yeah, when Ruth's asking like, why aren't you coming back? What are you doing?
Yeah, she never answers when Ruth asks her any questions that have to do with Artemis.
Yes.
She do what protocol requires. She never answers.
Yes.
She never answers. She's just like, there's like crickets.
Silence.
Like crickets.
Is it Holly didn't reply? It's like, why? Why can't you reply? There's nothing there.
So definitely don't let her get a hold of that.
Yes. Okay. And then there's a point where they said they have to take off Spiro's finger while he's sleeping because something's like the fingerprint activated, and she's really opposed to that idea. But it's one thing they kind of do a callback is that Holly wagged a threatening finger at Artemis, and then you actually came up with a callback he would have said.
I said Artemis should have said, oh, is that the finger I reattached?
And they were like, oh, shut down that. That actually would have been a pretty good comeback for him.
It's like, it was just a missed opportunity. It's like, I can't believe Owen missed it.
Right.
He missed nothing but that one right there.
Right?
Right up.
And then there's like two scenes that happen. Well, actually, one last thing that happens is like, when they get the cube back, they're about to wipe Artemis and Bella and Juliet's memory. And then there's this point where Holly's very hesitant on doing it. She keeps coming with they don't have to do it. But Ruth's like, no, we have to. That's it. No more discussion. And there's a point where she feels like pretty sad about it. And there's one point where Holly said, it's a shame we were almost friends. And Foley said, like, you could be friends with a viper. And then Mom was like, like Foley.
Really? Oh. Well, it's like, what friends? Like Viper, really?
Excuse
oh
me?
my God.
And Holly was just kind of really upset at him.
But he's real snarky like that. And Foley, he probably was just trying to be detached. Maybe he really didn't want to do the mind wipe either, but that was his detached way of staying non-emotional to what's going on.
And speaking of which, One thing we gotta bring up is that for the graphic novel adaptation for this book, they really kept majority of it actually intact from the book. It was just kind of odd with having the first person narration going back and forth. But there are points in the book where they specifically take out scenes that include Holly and Artemis. Like there's one scene where he hugs her because something's weight sensitive. They quickly explain it. And then this scene we just explained with Holly really being heartbroken that Artemis will no longer remember her, and she almost cries. But the graphic novel takes out all of that and they act like she has no problem with this and doesn't really care.
And that there is no relationship between them.
Yeah.
Nothing has grown, that they haven't become friends.
Yeah.
Like there's just this cold and stoicness between them.
Yes.
Why would you
Right.
do that?
And they claim, Disney claims that they did this in the new, this book. They kind of cut scenes out for pacing so the story could go faster. So they felt like that wasn't necessary for the story. And then Mom replied with,
that's what pacing. That's what they're calling it now.
yeah, they only
right.
specifically cut out scenes of them together, like if they're showing some sort of affection towards each other. The books just take out all of it like as if nothing happened.
And what's really weird about that, finally, as we end this edition, Owen Colfer explains the age difference between Artemis and Holly, which we will cover in another video.
Right, which will be coming soon.
And the way Disney's treating is like this old lady likes this kid, and it's not that way.
Right.
And if the writer of the book and the creator of the characters tells you that the age difference is only a few years, why on earth is Disney or anyone else questioning his intellectual property?
Especially,
he knows what he wrote, and he knows what he thought, and he knows what he wanted.
Right.
How are you going to tell him what he wrote isn't correct?
Right, especially the fact that he writes for all ages, and a lot of his books that they choose to be for kids. Why would he write something like that? Wouldn't something have come up years ago?
Exactly, which he wouldn't.
So
that concludes it for this edition of the Artemis Fowl Scratch-Ups.
yeah,
Join us for the next book.
which is gonna be a pretty juicy one because a lot of big things happen. Because book 4 is considered one of the fan favorites.
Yes, it's one of our favorites too.
So, thank you so much. Oh, and be sure to like, subscribe, and click notification bell updates on future podcasts and one of Paws videos.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace. See you next book.